When I told my buddy Pete Walsh, who was on this week's show, he sounded stunned. You see, Pete is a company coach at Peak Performance Coaching, and he says to me, "You know, that guy is the Tom Brady of executive coaching, the GOAT, greatest of all time. How did you get him on your show?" Pete wondered. I simply asked. Hello and welcome to the Business of Story. I'm your host, Park Howell, and I am so excited to bring you who most people consider the number one executive coach in the world, Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall is out with a new book called The Earned Life. Plus, he has a marvelous new AI tool called the Marshall Bot, where you can ask it any question on leadership development, and he will respond via AI using his enormous reservoir of knowledge. And the best part is, it's free. Marshall at your doorstep for nothing. So settle in and enjoy my conversation with the one and only Marshall Goldsmith. I love the premise of his new book, The Earned Life, which is already a New York Times bestseller, his fourth, by the way. I like it because it flies in the face of the age-old adage of delayed gratification. Marshall believes that we should be enjoying the fruits of our labor all along the way.
One of the great people I coached is Albert Bourla. Albert's the CEO of Pfizer. I don't know. He had a pretty good year. I called him about 3 or 4 years ago. Albert, how's it going? So, good year. Came up with that vaccine for COVID. Fantastic. Stock all-time high. Fantastic. He was CEO of the year, employee engagement, blah, blah, blah. What a year. I said, Albert, what's your problem? He said, I have a huge problem. What is it? Next year. Next year. Now, you think achievement's going to make you happy? You know who'd be the happiest Olympian ever lived? Michael Phelps. He won 25 gold medals. What do you think about doing after winning 25? Killing himself.
I love the premise of his new book, The Earned Life, which is already a New York Times bestseller. His fourth, by the way. I love it because it flies in the face of the age-old adage of delayed gratification. He believes that we should be enjoying the fruits of our labor all along the way. Don't push it off way down the road when maybe we're even too old to enjoy it. But what are you doing right now to enjoy the work you're putting in? Marshall's 55 books have sold over 3 million copies and been translated into 35 languages. In 2023, both Chief Executive Magazine and Thinkers 50 listed his book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, as one of the best business books ever written. Marshall's acknowledgments are many. For instance, Business Week tabbed him among the 50 great leaders in America. The Institute for Management Studies honored Marshall with its Lifetime Award for teaching. Harvard Business Review named him the world's #1 leadership thinker, and the accolades go on and on. But what I like most about talking with Marshall was his down-home, level-headed insights on leadership and personal development. Dr. Goldsmith served as a professor of management practice at the Dartmouth Tuck School of Business. He has a PhD from the UCLA Anderson School of Management, where he was the Distinguished Alumnus of the Year. He earned his MBA from the Indiana University Kelley School of Business, where he was the Distinguished Entrepreneur of the Year, and a BS from Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, where he received an honorary PhD in engineering in 2023. Kind of a curve breaker, no? Well, Marshall has over 1.5 million followers on LinkedIn and 4 million views on YouTube. Hundreds of his articles, interviews, columns, and videos are online at no charge to you. Plus, his resources have been viewed, read, listened to, downloaded, or shared over 100 million times. Jeez, that's a lot. So no wonder Pete asked me how in the world I got Marshall onto the Business of Story, and I'm so glad I did. So settle in and enjoy our conversation. Hello, Marshall. Welcome to the Business of Story.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Now, you, of course, are a legendary leadership coach, executive coach. In fact, some people say you are the #1 expert in executive coaching in the world. How does a guy get to that level in their career?
I'm going to share my secret. Are you ready?
All right. Absolutely.
It's very simple. For 45 years as a coach, I didn't get paid if my clients didn't get better. And better wasn't judged by me or them, it's judged by everyone around them. So the client I coached, I spent the least amount of time with, improved the most. The client I spent the most amount of time with didn't improve at all. So I go talk to my client who I spent the least amount of time with, who improved the most. This is many years ago. And his name is Alan Mullally. Alan was the CEO of Ford. He led the amazing turnaround from 101 to 1840 on the stock. He had a 97% approval rating from every employee in a union company. He was ranked the best CEO in the world and just a good human. He and I are working a book together. So when he's young, I asked him, Alan, of all the people I've coached, you improved the most. I spent the least amount of time coaching you. Now, I said, Alan, I made a chart. On one dimension, it's called time spent with me, and the other dimension is called improvement. There's a clear negative relationship between spending time with me and getting better.
And so that makes you a number one expert somehow.
Now, I said, Alan, the way this chart looks, if you never met me, you'd been better yet. Now, I asked him, what should I learn about coaching from you? Now, he taught me 2 lessons. If everybody listening learned these 2 lessons, you'll be a better coach, have a happier life. He said, lesson number 1, your biggest challenge as coach is called one thing, customer selection. You pick the right customer, your coaching process always works. You pick the wrong customer, your coaching process never works. He said, 2, never make coaching about yourself and your own ego and how smart you think you are. Make it about those wonderful people you work with and how proud you are of them. Well, as you mentioned, I got ranked number 1 executive coach in the world for years. Why? Nobody knows I'm a good coach. I may or may not even be that good of a coach. I can say one thing with confidence. I'll get the number 1 customers in the world.
And what makes up a number 1 customer?
The number 1 customer is and by the way, I have rules. And if they don't follow the rules, I just don't work with them. By the way, good thing, don't take bad business. I've got rules. They don't follow the rules, I don't work with them. What makes the number 1 customer? 1, they have to have courage. They got to be willing to look in the mirror. 2, they have to have discipline. I give them a lot of work to do. They got to do the work. And they have to have the humility to admit they can do better. Everyone I coach gets confidential feedback. They pick things to improve. They apologize for their mistakes publicly, by the way. They apologize for their mistakes. They talk to people one-on-one. They do rigorous follow-up. And they get better. And if they don't want to do it, you know what I tell them?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
How do you find them? How do you filter out prospects to get those 3 characteristics of courage, discipline, and humility?
Well, the first thing is I basically am very clear up front about what I do and don't do. My clients, everything I coach is behavioral. I'm not a strategic expert or business expert. They have to have a behavioral issue, and they have to be important. They have to get supported by the company, and they have to want to change. They have to do this work. I say, here's the work. And then if they have any questions, well, I'm not sure this will work, whatever. I have a good sales technique. So I'm not sure this will work. You know what I say? It probably won't.
I'm not sure this is going to work. You're right. It probably won't. Don't invest.
It probably won't. And by the way, this sounds kind of dumb to me. It's dumb. It's really dumb. Don't do it. It's perfectly fine. See, I have an advantage from a sales perspective. Peter Drucker said, great marketing eliminates the need for sales. I actually am an order taker. And I don't mean that in a pejorative. You know the term order taker. I don't mean that in a negative way from a salesperson. I'm an order taker because I got plenty of people who want to be they want me to be their coach. Why? All these people I coach, their names are public and they all say I'm great. Yeah, you want to be one of them? I've coached 5 CEOs a year in the United States. You want to be one of them? Fine. You know, I don't care.
Well, how'd you get into coaching?
Well, interesting story. Purely by accident. I first got into leadership development. I met a very great man named Dr. Paul Hersey. He and Ken Blanchard developed something called situational leadership. And I was a young PhD, and he let me sit in on his program for free. I sit in, and man, that guy's good. I said, I want to be him when I grow up. I want to be like that guy. He's good. Well, I did a smart thing. I said, look, I'll sit in the back of the room. I'll move the tables around. I'll serve the coffee. I don't care. Just let me sit there and learn from you. He did. One day he got double booked. He said, "Can you do what I do?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Look, I'm desperate. Ken can't do it. I can't do it. Can you do it?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "I'll pay you $1,000 for one day." I was making $15,000 for 1 year. I'm from a small town in Kentucky called Valley Station, Kentucky. We had an outhouse the first 4 years I was in school. $1,000 a day. You know what I said? And you got to realize this is 47 years ago. That was a lot of money. You know what I said?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. So I go do a program for the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. They are pissed off because I'm not him, right? But I got ranked first place of all the speakers in a 2-week program. So he calls him up, kind of scared. He said, "Look, we were angry, but this kid came in first place. Send him again." He called me up and said, "You want to do this again?" I said, "Are you kidding me? Sign me up, coach." Well,
Marshall, what do you think was about that initial presentation, that training you did, that maybe surprised you that you won their affection in such a great way?
Well, number one, I've always been a good teacher. I've been a college professor for a while, where I made no money, but I'm still a very good teacher. So I'm a good teacher. Two, I'm funny. And these you can imagine the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, boring presentation, PowerPoint slides. Let's talk about finance over and over again. They love me. I get up telling jokes, having fun. We love this guy. Send him again. Forget those other boring people. We love this kid.
So how long, that was 40 years ago?
47.
47 years ago, and you've been at it, and since then, you've written like 55 books, numerous best-selling books.
Well, now,
how do you find the time and energy?
Let's be clear. Now, I've sold 3 million books, and I've done 8 bestsellers, 4 New York Times bestsellers, and then I have written many books that were purchased only by my mother, my father, and my relatives. So most of those books, absolutely nobody bought. I'd recommend maybe, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 of them. And the rest of them are useful only if you want to go to sleep.
And probably your most popular one is What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
That book has sold as much as all the others combined, roughly.
Why is that, do you think?
One has got the best title in the world.
It's pretty good. Did you come up with that?
I mean, the title kind of captures the book. What got you here won't get you there.
Get you there.
See, everyone I coach is already godlike, right? They're already big, important people. But I got to tell them, look, what got you here is nice, but you want to get better? You got to do something different other than what you've been doing. And by the way, everyone is successful because we do many things right. Everyone I work with, they do many things right. Well, they're not going to be hiring me if they don't do many things right. They're also successful in spite of doing a few things that are dumb. And I've never seen anybody so wonderful had nothing on the in spite of list.
Give me an example of that. And you don't have to name the person, but give me an example of someone doing something really dumb that kind of surprised you, and yet they were still successful.
Well, I'll give you a classic example. It's probably true for you and almost everyone listening. You ready? And for salespeople are terrible at this. Okay? The number one problem of smart, successful people is winning too much. Now, what's that mean? It's important, we want to win. Meaningful, we want to win. Critical, we want to win. Trivial, we want to win. And not worth it, we want to win anyway. Winners love winning. Many of the people listening to us right now are winners in life. It's hard for winners to stop winning. Now, I'm going to give you a case study that almost all of my clients fail. I will predict you have failed this case study. I will predict almost every listener has failed this case study, and you will fail yourself. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You want to go to dinner at restaurant X. Your wife, husband, partner, significant other wants to go to dinner at restaurant Y. You have a heated argument. You go to restaurant Y. The food tastes awful and the service is terrible. Option A, critique the food. Point out our partner was wrong. This mistake could have been avoided if you'd listened to me. Option B, shut up. Eat the stupid food. Try to enjoy it and have a nice night. What would I do? What should I do? Almost all my clients, what would I do? Critique the food. What should I do? Shut up. Case study 2. You have a hard day at work. You come home. Your husband, wife, friend, or partner's there. The other person says, I had such a hard day today. I had such a tough day. And we reply, You had a hard day. You had a hard day. Do you have any idea what I had to put up with today? Do you think you had a hard day? We're so competitive, we have to prove we're more miserable than the people that live with us. I gave this example to my class at the Dartmouth Tuck School. Young guy raised his hand. He said, I did that last week. I asked him what happened. He said, my wife looked at me and said, honey, you just think you've had a hard day. It is not over.
It's just beginning.
It's not over.
So this winning thing that you want to win at all costs is really the ego jumping right into the middle of the fray, isn't it? And we don't tamp the ego down, and we've got to be the winner in every situation, and that can really make us the big loser.
Oh, you got a few salespeople listening to us right now. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean? It's important. We want to sell. If it's meaningful, we want to sell. If it's critical, we want to sell. If it's stupid, we keep selling anyway. It's hard for salespeople not to sell.
Yeah. So you've got a new book out. Can you tell us about it? The Earned Life.
Now my new book is quite different. This is more of a philosophy book. So it's really not a book so much for leadership as such. It's just more of a human book, more of a philosophical book about life itself. So in this book, I talk about what's important for just having a great life. So there are not that many things. One is you need enough money to have a middle class or above income. And most of your listeners, they're going to do that. They'll be okay. And they think that more money is going to help them. It's not. I've coached plenty of billionaires, and some are very happy and some are miserable. Beyond a certain point, it's not that high. Money doesn't matter that much for having a great life. The second thing is you need to have great relationships with people you love. And I teach people, don't get so busy trying to be a success, forget the people who love you. And the third point is, you're healthy. You take care of yourself. Assuming you're healthy, a good relationship with people you love, and you got a middle class income. What's important? Three things. One, you need a higher aspiration in life. Why am I doing this? An answer to the great question, why? My guess is that people listening to us right now work very hard. Nothing wrong with working hard. I work hard. The question is, though, why are you working hard? What is the punchline here? Number two, then, you need to achieve. Your achievement needs to be connected to that level of aspiration. And then three, you need to enjoy the process of life itself. You need to like what you're doing. If you like what you're doing, you're achieving stuff that's important and it's connected to a higher purpose. You just won. Now, some people go off the rails because they're focused on their heads. And they got higher aspirations, lofty goals, ideals, but they don't do anything. They're not listening to this call right now. Some people get off the rails because they're just addicted to enjoyment in life. They play video games. They go to the bar, get drunk, watch movies. They're not listening either. So your customers, people listening to us right now, often fall into a different trap. They're addicted to achievement. And they forget something. They think that results will make them happy. They believe that results will make them happy. I'm going to help every salesperson listening to us right now learn something. You think making that quota is going to make you happy? What happens next year? Does it go down?
The quota goes up.
One of the great people I coached is Albert Bourla. Albert's the CEO of Pfizer. I don't know. He had a pretty good year. I called him about 3 or 4 years ago. Albert, how's it going? So, good year. Came up with that vaccine for COVID. Fantastic. Stock all-time high. Fantastic. He was CEO of the year, employee engagement, blah, blah, blah. What a year. I said, Albert, what's your problem? He said, I have a huge problem. What is it? Next year. Next year. Now, you think achievement's going to make you happy? You know who'd be the happiest Olympian ever lived? Michael Phelps. He won 25 gold medals. What do you think about doing after winning 25? Killing himself.
Suicide.
That's it. Achievement is not going to make you happy. Happiness and achievement are independent variables. Achieve to achieve. Achievement is good. Be happy to be happy. Don't think achievement's going to make you happy. It won't. It will not make you happy. There's not enough you're going to sell, not enough money you're going to make, not enough awards you're going to win. You think you're going to get some results, you'll be happy. The Buddhist term is called the hungry ghost. You're always eating, you're never going to be full. So it's great to achieve and enjoy the process of your life. Don't think that achieving things is going to make you happy, though. It won't.
It's the journey. It's the process.
Well,
where
let me
you
give
find
another great
happiness.
example. Jack Welch. There's a study called the marshmallow study. They take these kids, I don't know if you know the study at Stanford, and they give a kid a marshmallow. And they tell the kid, well, if you eat one, you get one. But if you wait, kid, if you wait, you're going to get two. Well, allegedly, the kids that eat one grow up to be losers. Kids that wait are successes, right? And the whole message is, see, delayed gratification is good. Almost every self-help book, delayed gratification is good. Work out more, go on the diet. Delayed gratification, good. There's only one problem with the research. It didn't take the kid that had two marshmallows to say, wait a minute, a little longer. 3. Ooh, wait some more. 4, 5, 10, 100, 1,000. Where's the story end? Old man waiting to die, sitting in a room surrounded by thousands of uneaten marshmallows. See, sometimes
he didn't have any fun along the way.
Sometimes you need to eat the marshmallow.
Isn't that the truth?
Jack Welch, the famous CEO of GE, he almost died when he was younger. He had triple bypass surgery. And my friend asked him, well, Jack, what'd you learn about life when you had triple bypass surgery? You know what he said? Why am I drinking the cheap wine every night? See, Jack Welch loved wine. He had his great wine cellar, right? Fancy wine. Every night he's drinking cheap wine. He's waiting for the wine in the wine cellar to appreciate its value. He's going, what is wrong with me? I'm rich. I'm Jack Welch. I like good wine. I'm drinking cheap wine every night, and I almost died. What an idiot.
Well, Marshall, that reminds me of a story about my dad, who has since passed away at 91. He had a very long, wonderful life, and he grew up in North Dakota during the Depression era. Yeah. He graduated from the University of North Dakota as a civil engineer, moved out to work on the Grand Coulee Dam as an engineer, his first job. He had $15 in his pocket and hitchhiked from North Dakota out to eastern Washington, building the bridge, then went into Seattle, became part of a construction company, became president of a construction company, very self-made man. Me and my 6 siblings had a wonderful, marvelous life growing up, and the folks took good care of us. We were on a 12-acre place up in Seattle called the Happy H, and my dad was very frugal, very smart man, because he grew up, in the Depression era. And there was this new fancy restaurant they put at the base of the hill below our house. I think it was called like the Barking Frog or something like that. And they wanted $350 for an evening there. And that covered like 7 courses and wine and all this stuff. And my dad wanted to go to that in the worst way, but he says, I just can't bring myself to spend that kind of money to go and do that. Then I'm living down in Phoenix. One day he calls me and he said, your mom and I had the most marvelous time with our friends at the Barking, Frog last night. And I was shocked. I go, what? You spent the money, Dad, to go and have that delicious meal? I go, what was the trigger? He said, well, I woke up in the morning, I looked in the mirror, and I decided it was time to stop saving money for old age.
It's a great story.
And so he started enjoying life. He enjoyed life all along, but that was the same kind of thing. He goes, I've earned it. It's time to go and enjoy it, right?
Why not?
Yeah. Well, you've been at this training, coaching for a long time. You said 47 years, and you've got these books. You're definitely staying up in the trends. I understand you've even been working in AI, and you got yourself a computer bot, the Marshall bot.
Well, you know what? Give me a second. I'll talk about it, and I'll see if I can go online and figure out how to have my little friend talk to you maybe for a second. So what happened is I give away everything I know. So all your listeners, you go to Marshall Goldsmith AI, and you can learn pretty much everything that I know. And so what you can do is ask it questions. And by the way, it is amazing how well it is in answering questions. So I thought about your particular group, and let me see if I can maybe ask it a question that might be relevant.
Now, my group, as you know, are listeners that are always trying to refine their storytelling skills, level themselves up, and be able to connect on a much deeper level with that person sitting across from them, no matter what they're doing. It could be learning and development. It could be sales, marketing,
very good,
HR.
Very good. Storytelling is crucial for salespeople because it helps them connect with their audience on a deeper level. Here are some key reasons why storytelling is so important. 1. Makes the message clear and compelling. A well-told story can make your message clear and compelling. It grabs attention and keeps the audience engaged, making it easier to convey your point effectively. 2. Builds empathy and connection. Stories allow you to show empathy and connect with your audience. When people see themselves in your story, they are more likely to trust you and be persuaded by your message. 3. Simplifies complex information. Stories can simplify complex information, making it more digestible and memorable. This is particularly useful in sales, where you often need to explain intricate products or services. 4. Creates emotional engagement. Pulling on emotional strings through storytelling can make your message more impactful. People are more likely to remember and act on information that has an emotional component. 5. Demonstrates value. By presenting your story, you can demonstrate your value and the value of what you are selling. It shows how your product or service can solve a problem or improve a situation, making it more relatable and desirable. 6. Encourages buy-in. When you tell a story that resonates with your audience, it encourages them to buy into your vision or product. They see the benefits and are more likely to support your ideas. In essence, storytelling is a powerful tool for salespeople because it helps them communicate more effectively, build stronger relationships, and ultimately close more deals.
There you go.
So that's the Marshall bot over at marshallgoldsmith.ai. And what do we do? Do we just jump in there and ask it a question?
You go right now, go to Marshall Goldsmith, Marshall has 2 L's, .ai. Mm-hmm. You can ask it any question you want to.
In that case, you gave us an example of it playing back to you and so forth. There, I'm on there now. Marshall's wisdom, finally for all. That's awesome. What did you ask it to give you that particular response?
The
what was
exact question I asked it was, I said, why is storytelling so important for salespeople?
Yeah. So if you were to ask it, how do you tell a good story? Will it answer that?
I have no idea. These things are unbelievable. It goes on and on and on. Let me give you some examples of this.
Yeah.
Oh, also, do you speak any other languages?
Not really.
Okay. But anyway, if you ask it in German,
I was just in Germany, so that's very relevant.
If you ask it in German, here's what it might say. Now, it's not available yet in multiple languages to the public. But anyway, it's going to be available in multiple languages soon to the public. So you can hear my voice speaking in many different languages.
Yeah.
It'll answer questions.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. And so my original goal was that it would be able to answer questions about as well as me about 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone. It can answer questions better than me almost all the time. The question, that storytelling question, that's better than an answer I would have come up with.
And is it just pulling that information from the World Wide Web out there?
Well, it's a little more complex than that. So what happens is this. My daughter wanted to trick it. So she said, my daughter's very smart. She got a PhD from Yale. She's a professor here at Vanderbilt in Nashville. So she wants to trick the bot. She says, how is your coaching related to utilitarian philosophy? Thinking it couldn't answer the question. It studies utilitarian philosophy. It studies my coaching. It knows me. And it answers it as if I would have answered it had I studied this the way it did in my voice and soon to be in 45 languages in 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-blowing.
Isn't that great? Are you using a custom chat GPT to do it?
I have some very nice people called Fractal Analytics paying for this. And I was just on a call with their CEO today. They're very generous people. They're in India, and there's a term guru, which just means teacher in Hindi. Well, I'm the guru, and this is a generous gift to them. This is free to the world.
That is so cool. We're building something similar for our story cycle system, all about branding, using the hero's journey, boiled down to my 10-step story cycle process. I wrote a textbook on it. I've taken lots of brands through it, and it's an exhaustive process. It can take sometimes up to 2 to 3 months to really get it dialed in. Well,
I've spent months on this.
Yeah, and we've been working on it for a year, and we've got it pretty darn close now. We're going to the app version of it, but it will enable a person to go through the process and have it develop a fundamental brand narrative in about an hour.
Good.
So we have collapsed that time from about 2 to 3 months of discovery and exploration and creative development down to an hour that then becomes a jumping off place for customers to say, okay, now let's refine it in our own voice, and away we go. And then once they get it refined, it'll even start writing ads for them.
Yeah, very good.
So much fun, isn't it?
Oh, I love doing this stuff. Now, one thing you mentioned is the word brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, my bot is biased, but let's go to another brand, more of a basic brand, more common brand. I'm going to teach you something about brand. And if you go to ChatGPT, which is, that's the most commonly used computer bot, I'm guessing, right? And you ask it a question. Go to ChatGPT and say, who's the world's best executive coach? Title of world's best is subjective. However, who's number one? Marshall Goldsmith. Now, the reason I bring that up is brand. That's a brand. Why don't I have to sell? You want to hire a coach? You got a lot of money? It's like the restaurant. Who cares? I'm rich anyway. You want to hire number one coach or not? Well, fine. Now, how do you build a brand? Because I was thinking about your audience again. One, Peter Drucker said your mission should fit on a t-shirt. My mission, I try to help very successful leaders achieve positive long-term change in behavior. That sounds kind of obvious today. Before I didn't know he was doing that. Coaching was seen as fix the loser, not help the winner. I'm not in the fix the loser business. I do not work with losers. My clients are not losers. In the old days, coaches, you could even mention the names of your clients. That's considered unethical. That was back in the old therapy, psychiatry, you got a problem days. I can mention names of my clients. They're all in my book. They all mention their own names, right? Well, why? My clients are great people. I'm proud of them. They're not ashamed to have a coach. Well, build a brand. Figure out, how do you build a brand? Number one, what is your brand identity? It needs to be pretty simple. Communicate it in a positive way. And then you get great people to talk about your wonderfulness of doing what you do. Well, again, why am I seen as a great coach? I don't know if I'm not excessively modest, but there's no way I'm as good as my bio. You look at my bio. There's no human that good. The number one leadership thinker in the world, number one coach in the world, blah, blah, blah. There's no way I'm that good. I have a degree in math. I mean, there's a lot of humans out there. There's got to be somebody better than me sometime, year after year. On the other hand, what am I good at? Build a brand. So I wrote in my book, The Earned Life. My newest book is called The Earned Life. Another thing I wrote in that book is good for your audience, called Credibility Must Be Earned Twice. Half of credibility is doing a good job. The other half of credibility is being recognized for doing a good job. Those are not the same thing. A great myth is my good work should speak for itself. No, it doesn't. If your good work would speak for itself, no company would have a marketing department. Your good work doesn't speak for itself. No, you got to speak for your good work. It doesn't speak for itself. So one thing I teach people is the importance of, get over that hesitancy to promote yourself. And interestingly, a lot even of salespeople don't sell themselves very well. They sell their product. They don't sell themselves.
Yeah, isn't that funny? And in this day and age, it seems like people really pull back from putting themselves out there, especially the younger professionals.
Right.
And in the business story training that I do, it's so hard sometimes to coax them out of their shell. People say it's because they grew up on digital devices, been trolled. They don't like that feeling. They don't feel like they should really be out there promoting the good work they're doing. And yet, how is anybody going to know that they're there? I once heard phrase that came from one of my bosses way back when, Marshall, that I realized again after touring through Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and seeing all these fabulous cathedrals. He used to say, and when clients would be reluctant to share their goodwill or what they're doing out there, he says, remember that a 2,000-year-old church still rings its bells every Sunday morning to let people know the doors are open.
That's right.
You can't rest on your laurels. You got to let it's a big, loud, noisy world out there. You got to let people know what you're up to.
I'm going to give some coaching right now to everyone listening to us who has the problem you mentioned. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is killer coaching. Feel free to use this as you talk to such people in the future. This is good. Peter Drucker was the greatest management thinker in history. I got ranked number one coach in the world. His brain compared to me my brain compared to him was that of a 10-year-old. He was so smart. I was very lucky. I was on his advisory board for 10 years. Peter Drucker taught me a few lessons. Lesson one, he said, our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart, not to prove we're right. We're here on earth to make a positive difference. Now, number two, every decision in the world is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. And number three, if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, is one word used to describe you. That's called customer. One word used to describe me is called salesperson. Customers don't have to buy. Salespeople have to sell. Now, for all the listeners, are you ready? Question one. Do you believe if you became more powerful and influential, this world would be worse off or better off? You know what the huge majority think? Better off. Those people you're talking about. Question two. Does trying to become more powerful and influential make you feel uncomfortable? No. Does it make you uncomfortable? Many would say yes. Question three. What's more important to you in life? Making a positive difference in the world or being comfortable? Well, you want to be comfortable? Keep doing what you've been doing. You want to make a positive difference? Get over it. And drop all of that, my good work should speak for itself crap, and drop, I shouldn't have to do that. Grow up.
We got to tell our story out there. Someone's going to tell it for us.
That's it. My old mentor, Dr. Paul Hersey, said, if you don't occasionally blow your own horn, others will use it as a spittoon.
I like that one. I like that one. Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame says, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, which I really like, but I changed it a little bit, Marshall, and I believe it is your brand are the stories people tell about you when you're not in the room. So you, as the owner of that brand, better own your narrative and make sure that people truly understand it.
So anyway, I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I really appreciate you being here. Our mutual friends, Charles Good, John Peters over at IMS. I've been doing a lot of work with them, and they said, oh, man, you've got to go and track down Marshall. And it's taken about 6 months, but I'm glad to finally have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much. Very honored to join you, and keep doing your good work. You're trying to help a lot of people have better lives.
I appreciate that. Have a great one.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today and sharing this episode with anybody you know that would benefit from Marshall's marvelous wisdom. And please do me a huge favor, if you wouldn't mind, to jump over to iTunes and give us a rating and review of the Business of Story. It certainly helps us get found in that cacophonous noise out there that we all compete in. If I can help you and your friends, family, team members, colleagues, you name it, grow as more confident, clear, and compelling storytellers, and please give me a shout. I'm over at park@businessofstory.com. I've got, of course, virtual trainings, in-person trainings, a hybrid that combines those two, and some marvelous online resources where you can start your storytelling training right now to help you excel through the stories you tell. Big shout out to Kate and Howell. Thank you so much for the expert editing and producing you do on our show, and to Darius Holbert for our marvelous theme music. Now, join us next Monday when you will learn how to ask the right questions to get what you want when Sean Grace, author of the new book, The Art of the Question, a guide for seekers, dreamers, problem solvers, and leaders will be here. Until then, remember that the most potent story you will ever tell is the story you tell yourself. And so start enjoying that one today, because you've earned it. Thanks so much for listening.